Well, the bike industry is bringing out a lot of gimmicks on new bikes, and they're claiming that they either give comfort or they give speed or they give some benefit to the bike. And we've seen the Trek Madone with the hole that's in the seat tube. We've seen the Bianchi, Wayno's way of saying it, and with the nostrils that are on the front of the bike, that's supposed to be a tripping mechanism for your legs to give you better aerodynamics. And then we've also seen on one of the gravel bikes, there's a spring or dampener built into the frame that's connected to the headset. So as you turn the handles, this is dampening the handlebars. Now, this could be to stop knocks when you're hitting rocks and so forth, as they do have in the four-wheel drive industry, or it could be a self-centering system. I'm not too sure what the manufacturers are claiming for that, but this mechanism is supposed to give you some advantage when you're riding these bikes. Now, let's roll our intro and let's have a bit of a discussion. Are these things really gimmicks, or is this really tech that's going to help us ride better? Well, the reality is when it comes to road bikes, the industry knows how to make the bikes faster, but the hurdle is the UCI have very strict design rules. Now, when you see the UCI sticker on your bike, it's not a quality assurance or assurance by the UCI, it's just a design parameter. And what they're basically saying is that that design of bike fits inside the parameters of the design rules. Like you have with racing, you have different classes of racing, and you can't use an engine over a certain size, or you can't use brakes that are too big, because it keeps the whole, that car or that club level at a certain level, so people can't then go and put really hot engines in the car and can't put massive brakes so they can stop quicker. It's a limited format, and that's exactly what the UCI have done. They're saying if you want to race in a UCI race, you have to have these limitations on how you design the bike, which restrict you to be able to get the maximum aerodynamics out of the bike. Now, back in the 90s, these rules were relaxed, and we had bikes like the Lotus 101, and we also had other bikes like the Superbike, which was made in Australia, and these were a one-piece frame, and they were very, very slippery and very, very fast. And the Lotus still holds the hour record now, even though that criteria has been grandfathered. So the manufacturers know how to do it, but of course they can't step outside the UCI rules, because then they won't be able to get the endorsement, they won't be able to race these bikes in the pro circuit or any UCI races, which then can affect their ability to advertise the product, especially the high-end bikes, and make them a saleable product. So they're in this kind of place where, yeah, most of the people who ride these bikes aren't pros, and they want to sell them and make money, but they need the pros and that to give that kind of hype to the product to go, oh yeah, my favourite rider rides this bike, so I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to get the kit and the t-shirt that all matches. So there is a marketing potential for the manufacturers if the bike is being raced in these top events. So this where comes the problem. How do we bring out a new model and attach something to that brand that says, hey guys, come and buy my product over that product because it's got this little extra thing. Now, if you've been in the bike industry for a long time, we've seen all sorts of different types of designs. There's been chain stays that have gone up and down. We've even got this one now to get water tyres where it's got this bend in it. Structurally, that is not a good idea. We've also had in the TT bikes adjustable back wheels, and I think Pinarello had that for a while, even in the recent models where you can adjust it and get the tyre as close to the frame as possible to reduce the tripping of the air. And we've had all sorts of different type of handlebars, wider, narrower, aerofoil ones. We've had we've had narrower tyres, we've had wider tyres, and all of these things keep changing. And what we need to really ask ourselves is, a bike that was 10 or 20 years old, are these new bikes really giving you some significant advantage? Is this tech really working? Now, I'm not going to say the tech doesn't work, but what I will say is the advantage it's giving you is very, very small. Even if you took a bike from 20 years ago, something that maybe Lance Armstrong was racing, to now, the advantage they're getting is very minimal. And the reason why that is because generally these are stage races and there's a whole group of people, and apart from the front rider, everyone is drafting. So they're getting a massive drafting advantage. Now, drafting advantage can give you up to 30% advantage. So you can have 30% less watts and you can maintain the same wattage as that guy in front of you. That's why when you have breakaways, the bigger the group, the bigger the advantage that they can stay away, because they can share that high wattage that you need extra above the draft to stay out of front, and they swap that. And that's why they say, oh, so-and-so team won't pull a turn because it's not advantageous to their team. So they just stay behind. They want to be in the group, but they don't want to help the group get away. They're actually acting as an anchor to the group, so they get caught by the peloton. So this is the reality. So unless you're doing a race or you're riding completely by yourself and you're doing no drafting, a lot of these benefits really don't add up to anything. They don't increase anything. Now, we can talk about comfort and all this sort of other stuff, but my point is, and I'm not that young, is that a race bike is a road bike. It's not a bike you go everywhere off or you take on poor roads. You may get a few potholes in that, but generally the road, 90% of the road, or 80% to 90% of the road, generally is a smooth, and you're riding on tarmac, on bitumen, or some sort of surface that's a hard surface. And road bikes aren't made to be comfort bikes. They're made to be a performance bike. It's like buying a Ferrari, or I've got a Lotus, or even a race car. You want to get in a race car. These cars are not comfortable cars. They're not designed to be comfortable. They're very harsh. You get a lot of road noise, and the way they ride on the road, if you ride on chip seal, you get a lot of noise and vibration coming through the vehicle because they're performance cars. They're not designed to be comfortable. You want something like comfortable. You can go buy a Corolla or SUV or something like that. It's got a nice ride and it's beautiful to sit in. It's like sitting in your lounge chair at home, and it's got all of the little Apple Play and all those bits and pieces. And that's the way that I relate high performance vehicles. It's not about this comfort thing. Now, I know people say, oh, but you can ride longer and all this if it's a bit more comfortable. But I think that can come down to other factors. We're putting bigger tyres on, and that can give you a bit of comfort. And also the seat can give you a bit of comfort, changing the seat. So I don't think all of this tech that they're putting in the frame and more flexible and holes in the seat tube that give you more flex and all this sort of stuff, giving you more comfort, but they're depriving the bike of stiffness. It makes it harder to make, and it also generally adds weight to the bike. These new technologies have added weight to the bike. Now, you might go, weight doesn't matter, but I challenge you, get a backpack, ride without the backpack, get a kilo of weight, put it in the backpack. You tell me if you can't feel the difference. You can feel the difference. You'll go, oh yeah, I can feel this on my back. A kilo may not sound a lot when you're going from 7 kilos to 8 kilos, but it is. And even though we talk about components separately, and we go, oh, it's only 200 grams, it's only 150 grams. If they add up to a kilo, it makes a difference when you've got a bike that's under 10 kilos. And even if it was a kilo to a 10 kilo bike, that's 10% extra weight on the bike. So in conclusion, what I would like to see is a quality control bump, not a gimmick tech bump, because the triangular system of a bicycle frame is a very, very proven engineering design. It's not just something that relates to bikes. It's a very, very good engineering for lightweight, for strength ratio design. And I would just like to see a traditional bike, or at least they could offer a traditional bike at the higher levels. It's just a plain Jane bike with straight tubes that's made like they used to be made, and you can fit all of your standard stuff on it. You know, okay, you can put your latest group set on it and have it, but it's a plain Jane. You can fit a standard seat post on it, you can fit a standard handlebar on it, so you can adjust it, because you don't want to have all these integrated handlebar things. And the other thing as well is, it's timeless when it comes to maintenance, because if you damage the seat or something happens or the screws in the seat tube there break or whatever, you can get another one. You can get a new clamp. You can get a new seat post. You can change it. You can get a new hand. You fall over. You break your carbon handlebars. You can go to the shop. You can just buy a new one, and it'll cost you like a couple $100, not $1,000 for a special integrated handlebar. And you might not be able to get it because the bike is 5 or 6 years old, and now they're making completely different design of handlebars, seat post, whatever, and you can't get it, or you have to wait months before you get it. So I don't know why the bike companies lock out a plain Jane frame. Why don't they still offer that? I know why. It's because they want everything to be proprietary, and we've seen this shift from using aftermarket brands to put in their bikes. Now, as much as they can put on their bike, they're making it in-house, especially with the Bianchi, because the wheels, the steering system, everything is Bianchi except for the group set. So they're locking people in to, oh, right, you had a bit of a prang or this or that's worn or there's some problem with whatever. You have to come back to them to replace that product. Now, I think it's pretty poor by the industry because they're limiting choice and selection. And bicycles are supposed to be a very efficient, a very basic form of vehicle that you can use, and it has all of these benefits, but now we're trying to complicate it. We're treating it like a motor vehicle, and we're going, oh, it needs to have Apple Play, it needs to have, power steering, it needs to have, electric, flappy paddles, which we put on bikes, all of this the garbage, but it doesn't really make the bike any better. You can change the manual gear, you can go just as quick, it doesn't make you any faster. It's just a nice feature, and they should still be offering people, if they want to buy the plain Jane, easy to maintain, but they want a nice high-end bike, they can. They can just go out and buy some nice wheels. They can go out and buy a mechanical group set. They can either have disc or rim brake, and they can just have a standard headset where the cables are outside because they don't want all that integrated hassle, which is going to cost them more maintenance. And if they drop the bike and break the handlebars, they don't have to fork out for a whole integrated system, have it replaced. They can just replace the handlebars. And also, they can buy their favourite brand. They can buy a brand that has a bigger drop, a smaller drop, a extra width or narrow. They can change the stem. It becomes easy to adapt and replace and maintain the bike. Well, anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it. Leave your comments down below. What's your view? What's your take on these new gimmicks that are coming out? I think the bike industry's stepped over the line, and they're going from reality into a kind of fairy tale world with a lot of these things they're putting on their bikes. Okay, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it, and I'll see you next vid.